At the end of September, Lyft made the decision to drop their 55-cent per ride fuel surcharge right as gas prices immediately skyrocketed in California. So my question is, who in the hell is making these decisions at Lyft, and are they actively trying to piss off and alienate drivers? So this has been a pattern of behavior with Lyft since they went public back in March of 2019. They just keep shooting themselves in the foot with drivers. And the first negative thing that they did after going public, and this happened back in August of 2019, is the pay after pickup fiasco that affected over a dozen markets, including my market of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Drivers in those markets received this email that said, "Start earning as soon as you tap accept." So as soon as I saw that message in this email, I was like, great, they're gonna finally pay for pickup distance to passengers. And then I scrolled down a little bit further and saw this. When I looked at my rate card, I saw that my per minute rate did not change at all. But when I looked at my per mile rate, it was slashed by almost 50%. Sure, we were getting paid from the moment that we accepted a ride, but that 50% slashed per mile rate, I knew this was gonna be a pay cut. I drove under the new rates for about 2 weeks and saw that my earnings were down 10%. I actually did a video shortly thereafter talking about my experience with this. Lyft actually caught wind of it. They reached out to me. I spoke with a couple people from corporate and asked them how this decision was made. I told them that this was a rate cut. I also told them that I personally had just completed my 10,000th ride with Lyft. For the past 3 years prior, I was exclusively a Lyft driver. I really had seldom ever given Uber rides. I stopped driving for Lyft for the rest of 2019 and drove exclusively for Uber. So I gave them all of this feedback initially. I don't know why they didn't consult drivers prior to making the change, but then almost a year later, they changed rates back. It took them almost a year. They lost quality drivers. I have no idea what took them so long. Honestly, it just seemed like a deliberate way to get rid of drivers and lose market share. I have no idea what data they were looking at and where they could think that they could slash our per mile rate nearly in half and drivers would be happy just because we're getting paid for pickup time and distance now. All right, so since that time, I've pretty much stopped driving for Lyft altogether. Occasionally, I've gone back to driving for Lyft when they offer good bonuses. But during the time that I've been gone, I also received this email from Lyft in February of 2021. In the middle of the pandemic, Lyft adjusted rate cards for legacy drivers to be in line with all drivers. Legacy drivers like myself, I became a Lyft driver back in 2014, had slightly higher rate cards, about 5% higher than newer drivers for many years. A rate cut for legacy drivers, drivers that helped build Lyft in the middle of the pandemic. Now granted, there probably weren't a ton of us that were still out there, still actively driving, but a slap in the face to legacy drivers, especially those of you that may have been actively driving for Lyft during that time, a rate cut in the middle of the pandemic. And then again recently, dropping their fuel surcharge right as gas prices skyrocket in California. Again, I ask, who in the hell is making these decisions? Now, these are the corporate level complaints that I have with Lyft personally, but what about all of you? Are there things that I left out? Leave a comment below and let us know. Also, we're going to be doing an additional video on the Lyft driver app and driving experience in general, what complaints you may have. If you do have some, please leave the comments below, and those comments might be included in that video. Lyft, again, I ask, what happened? You used to be the best company to drive for. You pushed positive driver programs, tips, bonuses, and then you went public and made some really terrible decisions. It seems almost intentional. On a brighter note, I was recently offered a great bonus from Lyft. I made a video on that where I got a $900 bonus for giving 60 rides. Lyft is also starting to offer upfront pricing for drivers in some markets, which quite frankly, they had to start to offer to stay competitive with Uber, but they still have a ton of work to do, this recent fuel surcharge fiasco, and they've been pissing drivers off for years since they went public. But what about you guys? Leave all of your comments below, issues that you have with Lyft, corporate decisions, driver app issues, driver experience issues. Leave those comments below. Thanks again for watching and drive safe. Thanks.